dumb place to go.
And you can't celebrate if someone who doesn't look like you is around?
Yes, you can, but you can
You're
also
demented,
say, I don't want
actually.
to do it. It's a personal
You're
choice.
Sick, and what you're saying is disgusting, and if you were a Nazi, I would say the same thing to you.
Luckily, I'm not a Nazi.
Because what you're saying is indistinguishable from what they are saying, which is, I don't care your opinions, I don't care your views, your life experience, your intentions. All I care about is the way you look, something that you can't control. And on that basis alone, I'm judging you, and I'm hostile to you. That's the case you're making, and it's divisive and wrong. Memorial Day is a great holiday for bringing Americans together, unless you decide to promote segregation while you do it. A Black Lives Matter group in New York City threw a Memorial Day party and barred anyone who was not black from attending. This is what they said: being intentional about being around black people is an act of resistance. This is an exclusively black space, so if you do not identify as black and want to come because you love black people, please respect the space and do not come. I was confused by this because I thought the whole point of Black Lives Matter, one of the points would be to speak out against singling people out on the basis of their race and punishing them for that. Because you can't control what your race is, and yet they seem to be doing that. Explain that to me.
What I say to that is boo-hoo-hoo. You white people are angry because you couldn't use your white privilege card to get invited to the Black Lives Matters all-black Memorial Day celebration. Wow. Let me contextualize that for you. Memorial Day was created by...
First of all, I don't want you to contextualize.
Oh, I need to contextualize it because Memorial Day was created by black former slaves in 1865 to honor those individuals who were Union soldiers who fought and died for our freedom. So Black Lives Matter, in that same vein, decided to get together with black folks.
I'm not going to let you filibuster past my question.
To make sure that black folks were celebrated for being murdered by racist terrorists.
I don't want to shut this down, but I will. Okay. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I just have a really simple question for you. If you don't like people excluding others on the basis of their race, and as a society we agree that that's bad. I agree it's bad, you agree it's bad. Then why are you doing it? And why are you defending it now?
White folks crack me up all of a sudden when we want to have one day for black folks to focus on ourselves, but you've been having White Day forever. You don't say the words anymore because you know it's politically incorrect, but you've had an all-white Oscars, all these movies with all-white actors, movie after movie after movie, all-white TV shows with white cast over and over and over again. The Bachelorette, it took 11 seasons of a black bachelorette. Are you serious?
It's hard to believe. I hope you're not speaking for anyone else. I hope there aren't a lot of people in this country who agree with you.
Well, my name is Lisa Durden. I'm speaking for Lisa Durden.
I just hope there aren't people watching who agree with you, because what you're saying is so hostile and separatist and crazy. It's such a basic violation of what I thought we all agreed on, which is you don't attack people for things they can't control, namely their race.
It's not an attack. I'm stating the facts. People give weddings where they exclude children. It doesn't mean they don't like children. They don't know if your kids are going to be monsters and those kids are going to be well behaved. So in that same vein, Black Lives Matter decided to have one day where they didn't want white folks who were going to be off the rails. They don't know if you're going to be the ones behaved and for them or the ones who are there against them. So they take one day to do the celebration.
Let me just ask you a quick question.
Go right ahead.
Do you think it's racist to exclude people on the basis of their skin color?
I think it's racist when you've been excluding people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Stop with your silly lectures. I'm asking you a very simple question.
We're forced to come together collectively to celebrate ourselves because you guys won't. You are the larger society. Let's be real here.
You guys, I'm talking about what I thought we all believed. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would be fair if white people did come to a Black Lives Matter celebration?
They do all the time. When you look at Black Lives Matter,
do you use the same water fountain that they do?
And you see Black Lives Matter coming together collectively for different issues. You see people of all races. So we do accept them. This particular day, they said, stay your asses out. We want to celebrate today. We don't want anybody going against us today.
And you can't celebrate if someone who doesn't look like you is around?
Yes, you can, but you can also say, I don't want to do it. It's a personal choice.
You're sick, and what you're saying is disgusting, and if you were a Nazi, I would say the same thing to you.
Luckily, I'm not a Nazi.
Because what you're saying is indistinguishable from what they are saying, which is, I don't care your opinions, I don't care your views, your life experience, your intentions. All I care about is the way you look, something that you can't control. And on that basis alone, I'm judging you, and I'm hostile to you. That's the case you're making, and it's divisive and wrong. And it's amazing that you didn't have to say that out loud, but I can't believe you're making the case you're making.
Unfortunately, when you have a racist society like America, you force individuals to come together collectively to make sure that they have a voice. And that's unfortunate that the racism has caused people to come together collectively.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a single white person in America you would have let into this?
Now,
into the celebration?
I'm not Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a movement.
You're just an apologist for this.
However, I can respect the decision. It doesn't mean it's a decision I would have made. Maybe I would have. Just like a wedding where I might say your kids can't bring their badasses in my wedding.
Children are not an ethnic group. Every person in
You're
the world,
discriminating against people with kids. You're saying don't bring your badass kids.
Would it be okay? Yeah, but you see,
and that's
okay, but there are white adults and Asian adults and Hispanic adults, and presumably they're basically the same as black adults, but you don't agree with that.
We have gay pride parades. We have Puerto Rican Day parades. We have all kinds of parades and days that honor individuals. We have Mother's Day. We have Father's Day.
Fathers are allowed to participate in that.
Just take your mama out,
I'm not sure you're even
out.
capable of having this conversation, so I'm going to end it now. Let me just ask you one last. Let me ask you one last question, and be totally honest with
yes.
me. Do the people in your world, your parents, your siblings, your kids, your friends, do they agree with you on this?
My family respects my right to free speech.
No, don't give me that dumb answer. I mean, do they agree with what you just said, though? Do you know a lot of people who agree with what you just said? Whatever. No one's contesting it.
I'll see you next time on your show. You'll be inviting me on again.
Do you know a lot of people who agree with you?
Tucker, I'm going to see you again in less than a month. Ratings are going up.
I don't even know what you're talking about, and I'm not sure I look forward to it. But thanks for coming on tonight, Lisa.
The government's lawyers say they're concerned that former Air Force linguist Reality Lee Winter may have stolen or exposed other state secrets. While Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Solari called Winter extremely intelligent, she said the government's evidence against her is downright frightening. The Department of Justice says the NSA contractor has admitted to taking a top-secret intelligence document from her employer, which details hacking by the Russian military intelligence. Inside her Augusta, Georgia home, agents seized computers, 4 cell phones, and 3 guns, including an AR-15. They also found handwritten notes, including one where she allegedly said, "I want to burn the White House down." Prosecutors now allege that Winter plugged an external hard drive into a top-secret Air Force computer, but authorities don't know where that drive is located. Winter has pleaded not guilty in the Trump administration's first criminal leak case. Her defense attorney, Titus Nichols, argued the government is scraping and clawing to build a mountain out of a molehill. But prosecutors say in recorded jailhouse calls, Winter told her sister she would, quote, play the pretty white cute card. Winter's mother and stepfather testified on her behalf.
Any response?
Billie Jean Winter Davis did not want to talk after court, but she testified her daughter was a top student who taught herself Arabic when she was 17. The couple had previously spoken to CBS This Morning.
When she sees something wrong, she goes to right it. When she sees a need, she goes to fill it. She goes to fix things. She's a good person. I know that if she did do something wrong, she's ready to face the consequences, and she will.
This is Conrad Henry Roy III reporting about social anxiety.
At times, Conrad Roy seemed brimming with hope in his videos.
I just got a job from the Boston Duck Tourists to captain their boat. Like, that's a huge accomplishment.
But later, his despair came into focus.
It's no good. Trash. We'll never be successful. Never have a wife. Never have kids. Never learn.
In July 2014, Roy died inside this truck from carbon monoxide poisoning. As he was dying, prosecutors say he was on the phone with Michelle Carter for 46 minutes. Days before, in numerous texts, Carter, then 17, offered Roy suggestions on how to take his own life and lectured him when he wavered. But I'm tired of you not taking this seriously. Like, if you aren't really gonna do it, then stop pretending that you are, one message said. Another read, hang yourself, jump off a building, stab yourself. I don't know, there's a lot of ways. Carter's lawyers say investigators ignored texts she sent trying to help him.
I'm trying to do the best to dig you out. You're not aware of that, are you?
No, I'm not.
And you're probably not aware that he said, I don't want to be dug out.
No.
Are you aware that he said he wanted to kill himself?
No.
The defense is expected to blame Carter's medication for her odd behavior and argue responsibility for Roy's death ultimately lies with him.
In the manner of death?
Yes, I marked that as suicide.
Okay. And there was also a box that you could have marked a homicide.
Correct.
Now, listen to this. Overdoses are now the leading cause of death for Americans under the age of 50.
On May 26th, Cleveland Police Sergeant Timothy Maffo's body camera was running as he approached a man slumped in a car and, it turned out, minutes from a fatal drug overdose. 3 applications of Narcan, the anti-overdose drug, and the victim finally started coming around.
Welcome back, brother.
Sergeant Maffo says it's become a grim routine.
Have you encountered the same person twice?
Oh yeah, that's pretty common.
There were 11 overdoses just last night in Cleveland, 2 of them fatal. In Ohio, at least 4,100 people died from unintentional drug overdoses last year, a 36% increase from 2015, when the state led the nation in the rate of overdose deaths. Kentucky, West Virginia, and New Hampshire have also experienced shocking increases, as has the East Coast generally. Most of it tied to heroin or prescription painkillers called opioids, often laced with a powerful narcotic known as fentanyl. In Ohio alone, nearly 4 billion opioid pills were prescribed between 2011 and 2015. Even the state's lieutenant governor, Mary Taylor, recently disclosed that her 2 sons are now battling opioid addiction. Thomas Gilson is the medical examiner for Cuyahoga County.
If you look at how many people die in this country from opiate overdose, we're looking at, same number of casualties in the entire Vietnam conflict.
The crisis affects rich and poor, white and black, old and young. Last Thursday, the 911 operator in Akron received this call from a 9-year-old.
This is Akron 911. What's the emergency? My brother is not breathing. How old is your brother? 1.
It's unclear how the child got the opioid in his system, but he died on Sunday.
There's no doubt we live in a dangerous world, and for Christians, there's no more dangerous place than the Middle East in Muslim-majority countries. But for Muslims who've converted to Christianity, it's a much more treacherous path because many not only face the larger Islamic community, but also the wrath of their own families. This is just fascinating because we don't really hear about this so much. We hear about, the Coptics and, being driven out and all of that. But how many of these Muslim background believers are there in the Middle East, and what's their life like?
Yeah, well, it's hard to get an accurate number, but we do know that there's at least 2 million believers that come out of a Muslim background in Iran. And
wow.
All throughout the Middle East, we're hearing significant numbers. It's hard to get a grasp because they're in the underground church that meets in the middle of the night. They don't build an above-ground church. That would just create a bullseye for the Islamic State and other terrorist groups. But there are many. We're seeing in cities all throughout the Middle East significant numbers of Muslims that now follow Jesus as their Savior.
Now, your missionary organization is called E3 Partners, right? And so you were actually going in there in the trenches.
Yes.
How are these people being converted? Because you see so much fear among Christians when they're targeted, but yes. For a Muslim, it's got to be even worse.
Well, it really is, because they know it could be a death sentence. So they have to grapple through, are they willing to suffer for Jesus? Are they willing to die for Jesus before they ever pray to become a follower of Jesus? So you can imagine that if you think about the American church, what that would be like here. But it's difficult, but yet there are many leaders out there that we work with all throughout the Middle East that are just meeting families, desperate, refugees, so many different crises going on in the Middle East, and they're turning to Christ. They're finding hope
wow.
and a future and love. They see no threat from Jesus and the people they call the Bible people.
Wow. But their conversion is what? Because they're in desperation, or they have someone gives them an intellectual argument. How is it that they make this transfer?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think Jesus is reaching out to them. Shockingly, I started hearing about Muslims having dreams about Jesus about 20 years ago. Lauren, when I first heard that, I thought, what? Are you kidding me? And then I started meeting people, and I met a man named Mohammed in Jerusalem in a Bible study, and I said, wow, so you come out of a Muslim background and now you're a believer? And he said, yes. And he said, I was a content Muslim, but Jesus started coming to me in dreams, night after night, every night, telling me he loved me and I wanted to know more. I got on the internet, then I met a Christian friend, and it ended up that I gave my life to Jesus.
Wow. You know, you say in the conclusion of the book that Western Christians really can learn 3 spiritual disciplines from these Muslim background believers. I put them up. Choose what you listen to, make faith your filter, and get on your face and pray. I know there's a lot within each one of those, but what really is kind of the most important there, you think?
Well, you know, I think probably the first one, all of them, obviously prayer would be really important, but I was with some believers from Syria, and we were with them in Lebanon, and an explosion happened in an area where they lived, back in Syria, and immediately they said this, God is good, God is good. They didn't worry right off the bat. They made faith their filter. And I think choosing what you listen to, I think we can be so obsessed with the news and all the negativity out there that it really kind of paralyzes us as Christians. So I was talking to Fareed, who I write about in Standing in the Fire from Syria, and I said, Fareed, I've never seen you watching the news, and when I'm with Syrian believers, I don't see them watching the news. And he said, and there's a reason for that, Tom, because it makes us go crazy. And I thought, you know, that's true.
That's pretty. You know, one of the things that we see in the news is that the refugees fleeing. Yes. We see that constantly, so we think there's no more Christians left in the Middle East. Why don't these believers leave? Why are some of them leave and then come back?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I was talking to one of them, and I asked him that very question from Syria, and he said, well, that's simple, Tom, because I believe Jesus is the answer to all the problems in Syria. It's Jesus that's going to bring the people together. He'd been in church services where Alawites and Sunni Muslims who in the street are killing each other were worshiping Jesus together and hugging each other and asking for forgiveness for what their people did to their people. And he said Jesus is really the only solution, because when you reconcile with God, you can reconcile with one another.